Hi everybody, welcome to the Trailer Park Profit Show. How's everyone doing today? This is Daniel Gray. I am the Trailer Park Prophet, and we're broadcasting live from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado on Blog Talk Radio. This is Sunday on Monday. A recap of the news of the weekends, generally what we try and do here. Let you guys have a couple days off. I try to keep on what is newsworthy and what isn't, so you don't have to. One of my many public services here at the Trailer Park Prophet. We got a lot of stories today, a lot going on around the world. I guess the big story right now is a plane wreck in Malaysia. We're going to talk about that. In the first segment, we're going to talk about nonprofits. We're going to talk about whether or not Barack Obama is a Skippy or not. We're going to talk about the DC political elite. And that's just in the first segment. And I got a lot of stories. I think I have like 10 or 15 stories. That's what I'm doing every day. Kind of mix it up so it's interesting. I like this story though. Well, let's get to this story right now. A CBS reporter, her name is Cheryl Atkinson. She's a reporter for the CBS News, and the headline here reads that she was a persistent voice of media skepticism on Benghazi. In fact, Cheryl Atkinson is probably the only one in the lamestream media who's actually followed the Benghazi story. And in case you don't know, on 2012 9/11, our consulate in Benghazi was attacked by terrorists, and everyone in the world knew about it. Everyone in the world knew it was a terrorist attack. In fact, I remember the president of Libya at the time said that he had immediately, on 9/12, arrested 50 people that were on video and on our drone video that were involved in the attack on Benghazi. And the president of Libya had those people, and Barack Obama, even though he promised to make sure that whoever killed those 4 Americans on 9/11, 2012 were going to be brought to justice, to date, nothing's been done. I mean, there have been several, I don't know what you call them, warrants for arrest for a few people, but those have remained sealed for the most part, and none of them have been executed. At any rate, this one reporter, Cheryl Atkinson, has resigned from CBS News. Let's see here if I have any more details. Says here that the result, Atkinson has been a persistent voice of the news media skeptical about the government's story on the air and online. Atkinson has questioned the administration's timeline and its response. She has hunted down important eyewitnesses and pressed for release of documents that might have shed more light on the attack that killed 4 Americans, including Ambassador Christopher Stevens. It's still not clear what happened at the U.S. compound. At any rate, she has resigned. Oh, and here it says that a Congressional Oversight Committee will hear testimony from 3 State Department whistleblowers who have been called to describe the government's response to the attacks. Initial reporting on their testimony by Atkinson, among others, suggests the officials may contradict elements of White House and State Department versions of events. But this is a breaking story as far as I can tell. I heard about it. I was listening to Fox during show prep, and it'll be interesting to see how much play this gets in the media and how much this actually had to do with Atkinson resigning from her CBS reporter job. I mean, I guess she's tweeting about this, so we're going to find out more details. Now, it may be that they asked her to resign, and if she didn't resign, they were going to fire her, in which case the story is just developing, so we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves right now until we have more details. But I can imagine that there was a lot of pressure from progressive socialist statists around the country that would like to see Cheryl Atkinson removed from her post, because generally when you're dealing with progressive socialists, they don't like the other side being equally represented, and particularly in regards to their beloved President Barack Hussein Obama. And I don't think it's any stretch of the imagination to infer that the lamestream media would and has not covered the Benghazi story just because it makes President Obama look bad. I mean, you don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to figure out that had a Benghazi-like situation taken place during the Bush administration, that you would have heard a lot more from the media, and it would have been a story and remained a story until there was an investigation and someone in the administration was indicted and went to jail. I think you can pretty much safely say that. All right, again, breaking news. Cheryl Atkinson from CBS News has resigned. Well, we may have more details on Wednesday. And it's just an interesting story because now, see, here's what's going to happen. If she turns around and writes a book and talks about how she was treated at CBS, whether or not she was shunned by her colleagues, whether or not she was shown the door, whether or not some of the corporate heads came to her and said, look, we're getting a lot of pressure from Democratic groups, Muslim groups to silence you on Benghazi. I mean, this is going to be a good story. I have a really good feeling that this story about Cheryl Atkinson is going to have some legs. All right, the first story I want to talk about today, I was listening to Mark Stern, I believe his name is, on Rush Limbaugh, and he brought up a story that's near and dear to my heart, the Trailer Park Prophet's heart, and that is about the increase in the number of non-profits that are out there in the U.S. And he was quoting, Mark Stein was reporting on a source from, or his source was rather, the New York Times, and they did a piece this weekend on nonprofits. Now, I looked for the article and I couldn't find it, but I did jot down some of the details that I think are important to this discussion. And first off, between 2001 and 2011, nonprofits grew 25%, while private business grew by, what do you think, or how do you think private business grew? Not how, or actually, how many new private businesses do you think were developed between 2001 and 2011? Well, the number is 0.5%. So we had a 25% growth rate in nonprofits and a 0.5% in profit business. And so where did these, that's 25%. That's an incredible growth. But all of that growth, or most of that growth of 25% by nonprofits, had to be people that came from the private sector. And what's important about that is that the people who donate money to nonprofits, they get that they get a nonprofit donation reduction in their income tax. I'm trying to say exactly how it works with the IRS, but my point being is that people in nonprofits don't have to pay taxes. Now, they may have to pay taxes on their income tax, but the people that donate money to nonprofits, that's a tax-free donation. And then the receiving of that money, that non-taxed money, that isn't taxed. All the contributions that go to nonprofits is not taxed. And I'm hoping their income is taxed. I'm sure it's taxed. It'd have to be taxed. At any rate, the growth of nonprofits, at any rate, if everyone paid their fair share, like a private business or a private corporation, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I want to see. I want nonprofits done away with completely. And some more stats on nonprofits. Oh, this information, these numbers came from the Urban Institute, which I can assure you is a very far left of center nonprofit. All right, let me interrupt here. This is Daniel Gray. This is the Trailer Park Profit Show. I am your host, du jour, broadcasting live from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado, on Blog Talk Radio. Muchas gracias for being here. Really appreciate it. We're talking again about nonprofits. Recent article in the New York Times. And here's a number. I want you to think about this. What percentage of our gross domestic product is nonprofits? What do you think? What percentage of our economy, which remember, our economy is $17 trillion, roughly, give or take 500 or so billion dollars. What percentage of our gross domestic product of $17 trillion do you think nonprofits make up? What percentage of our economy is nonprofits? I want you to think for a moment. You got a number in mind? Well, the number, according to the Urban Institute, is 20% of our economy is nonprofit. 20%. So what's 20% of 17 million? Well, let's see. That would be 2 million, about $3 million, or $3 trillion, $4 trillion, something like that, right? 20%, that sounds about right. Let's see, 20% of 100, oh, okay, that's 20. I'm trying to figure this out. At any rate, 20% of any economy is a big amount. And that amount of money, which I'm guessing is around $3 trillion, is not taxed. So if you want to talk about fairness, then nonprofits ought to pay their fair share. Because they use the roads, they use the hospitals, they use all the public services that we have to provide for, police, fire, healthcare. Why should they be exempt from taxation? They ought to pay their fare just like everybody else. I mean, it's in the spirit of giving. Nonprofits are in the spirit, right, of giving, providing need where the government is vacant or devoid, so why shouldn't they pay their fair share for all the other wonderful things that our federal government does? Let's see. 4 times more for profit. Yeah, that's right. So 20% means that there's, let's see, 80% that are 4 times as much are actually gainfully employed in the private sector. So, all right, nonprofits, they must pay taxes according to the trailer park profit. All right, this Malaysia story. I got 3 different stories on this Malaysia plane wreck, and it's garnering a lot of really interesting conspiracy theories. People are talking about this. This is a breaking story. In case you don't know, a airliner crashed on its way from or to Malaysia. They're still looking for the wreckage of this plane. It was a Boeing 727, something like that. And the rumors abound that this airliner, this would be in the last, 2 days, was down by a rocket. And now we have a story here. I think this is the story from WND about this is the missile. They're saying that maybe it was a missile that took it down. This is a story that was a day ago. Missile down Malaysian plane. Article here by Aaron Klein. And I'll read the first paragraph to give you kind of a flavor of what Aaron Klein's trying to get upon us. At least we'll get the facts, and then we'll go to this other story. And it looks like it might even have a picture of the damn thing. It says, just 8 days after the terrorist attack in the city of Kunming, dubbed China's September 11th, a Malaysia airline flight carrying mostly Chinese passengers disappeared over the South China Sea. While the international probe is in its early stages and questions are being raised about the prospect of terrorism, investigators would be wise to thoroughly examine the possibility of a missile attack in light of recent information about the global proliferation of such projectiles capable of downing civilian airliners. And remember, the rumor about the Benghazi attack on 9/11/2012 was that the reason that the CIA was there was because they were trying to coerce as many of those shoulder-fired missiles as possible away from the terrorists, because they thought the terrorists were able to get those shoulder-fired missiles away from the Gaddafi regime. Further, China has issued a series of warnings about North Korea missiles, including one that crossed paths with the Chinese airliner carrying 220 people just last week. On Friday, China complained to North Korea when one of its missiles crossed paths with a civilian jet last Tuesday that had departed Tokyo's Narita Airport en route to the south or northeastern Chinese city of Shenyang. It says here, one day earlier, South Korea's defense ministry released a statement saying the Chinese civilian plane had passed as a ballistic missile from North Korea was in the course of descending. Oh my God. But I think we're talking about 2 different things here. The story's talking about a missile taking down an airliner, and I believe that would be a small missile or a different missile than the missile that this airliner recently saw, because there's a big difference between a ballistic missile and a defensive missile. And of course, North Korea claimed it was actually doing some training exercises and not to be alarmed. Let's see. In January, former CIA Director David Petraeus warned of a nightmare scenario in which the proliferation of missiles could provide terrorists the ability to shoot down passenger airlines. the largest terrorist looting of man-portable air defense systems, or manpads, that's kind of funny, isn't it? Reportedly took place immediately after the U.S. NATO military campaign that helped to end the Muammar Gaddafi's rule in Libya. So now that substantiates that whole story that has been scoffed at by many in the lamestream media. Gaddafi had hoarded Africa's biggest known reserve of manpads, with his stock said to number between 15,000 and 20,000. Many of the missiles were stolen by militias fighting in Libya, including those backed by the U.S., their anti-Gaddafi efforts. Last week there were unverified claims some manpads went missing in the Ukraine. How weird is that? And it says that most manpads are designed to down low-flying aircraft. Malaysia's airline flight MH370, however, reportedly disappeared from radar while flying at cruising altitude in fine weather, which is 30,000 feet. So a manpad couldn't have done that, most likely. All right, now, so that was yesterday. And this story is a breaking news story. But I have another story that I found right before showtime that was, here it is right here. This is from the Blaze. Glenn Beck's The Blaze headline: overpowered passengers beat 2 hijackers to death on Chinese flight. Now I don't know if this is the same story or not. Oh, this was way back in July 3rd, 2012. So here, I was thinking maybe this was the same story, but still kind of interesting. Says the moral of this story: don't try to hijack a plane in China. 2 would-be plane hijackers were beaten to death by passengers and crew aboard a flight bound for the regional Chinese airport of Umpra on Friday, the Global Times reports. The men died in the hospital from the injuries they suffered at the hands of those whom they thought would be their victims. There were a total of 6 men involved in the foiled plot to hijack a Chinese airline flight. All of the men were reportedly Uyghurs. How do you say that? Uyghurs. Get a load of this. You want to know who the Uyghurs are? A local Muslim ethnic minority. Less than 10 minutes after the plane took off from Hotan Airport in southwest China at 12:25 a.m., the men aged 20 to 36 announced their intentions to horrify passengers and attempted to storm the cockpit using a broken crutch made of aluminum as a weapon. Before they could get to the cockpit, they were tackled by passengers and the crew, who tied them up with belts and restrained them until the plane made it back to the airport. About 20 minutes later, there were reportedly 92 passengers and a crew of 9 members on the flight. And again, it says that the hijackers were ethnically Uyghurs, and they tried to break into the cockpit using a broken crutch, as I said. Again, that's an interesting story, beating people to death. I mean, I gotta admit, if I was on a plane and somebody was going to hijack it, I think I could easily go a little bit ballistic. You know, you're going to try and kill me? I'm going to get a little crazy on you. That's just me. You try to hurt somebody I love, I'm going to turn all grizzly, mama grizzly on you. You know, I thought this was kind of a good point. If a man punched his pregnant girlfriend in the stomach and the baby died, that man would get approximately 60 years in jail. Right? I mean, it varies from state to state. I understand all that. But you punch a pregnant woman in the gut and the baby dies, you're going to jail. Because in the eyes of the law, you killed a living human being. And in sharp contrast, abortionists kill thousands of babies every day, and no one has pressed charges. And you can make up your own mind how you feel about that, but you got to admit, there is a disconnect between punching a baby and killing it and having an actual doctor go into the vagina of a woman and scramble the brains of an unborn baby. Okay, I got this from my friend in Nigeria. I talk about him from time to time, Toshin. And he posted something I thought was worth our time here at the Trailer Park Profit Show. It says, do not educate your children to be rich, educate them to be happy, so when they grow up, they'll know the value of things, not the price. I like that. That's really good. Thank you, Toshin from Nigeria. You're listening to the Trailer Park Profit Show. My name's Daniel Gray. I am your host du jour on the Trailer Park Profit Show, broadcasting live from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado, on Blog Talk Radio. This is Sunday on Monday. I just wanted to tell you, today I went and did my walk in the Pinions with my best friend Bailey Barker, and I was able to walk most of the walk in bare feet, because out here in the semi-arid, high-altitude desert that I live in the San Luis Valley, there's a lot of sand, so I was able to walk 3 miles in the sand, barefoot. Beautiful. I guess I'm kind of bragging a little bit. Let's see. Oh, here's another. This is probably the most recent story on the Malaysia airplane disaster. This was actually published today by Alan Levin and Andrea Rothman on Bloomberg News. And let's see what they have to say. Oh, it looks like we might have a little recording. All right, come on. Come on. Come on, computer. All right, here we go. What is this? Price chart for Malaysia Airlines system. I don't know what that is. Okay, well, one thing we know now is a Boeing 777 that vanished over the sea 3 days ago. And they're scouring the area for a radar signature. They're looking for the black box. Hopefully it's pinging. It was a Malaysia airline system. And they're looking in the area of Hong Kong to Sumatra, around Malaysia. So that's a pretty big area. But I think maybe I don't know if they're looking for debris. I mean, I see a picture here of some of the airliner debris, let's see. I don't know if this is of the wreck that we're talking about. At any rate, it seems like a sad situation. Really, this is just all background information. We really don't know what is going on. Although I did have one story. I thought this was a story that there was some sort of hijacked attempt. That story's floating around out there. I don't know, I got a funny feeling about this story. 777, I think that's a pretty new plane. Oh, again, people are picking up on what I said yesterday, or rather Friday, about how it was ironic that President Obama and Secretary of State John Kerry were scolding Russia for not following basic principles and international law in regards to Russia invading the Ukraine, and how Obama has violated our laws repeatedly during the implementation of Obamacare and his dismantling of our immigration laws. And someone at the Patriot Post has a little posting here. It says, Putin cannot violate basic principles. That's what our president, Barack Hussein Obama, said in regards to Russia invading the Ukraine, and says the man who violates all, and that's the man, Obama's the man that has violated all of our laws, the ones I mentioned, like Obamacare and immigration. I mean, it's funny, he's saying, telling Putin, you can't violate them laws, you're bad. That's 19th century behavior there, President Putin, and yet he's doing it all the time in our country. Amazing. Here's a quote from Rand Paul. He says, I'm convinced that there are more threats to Americans' liberty within the 10-mile radius of my office on Capitol Hill than there are on the rest of the globe. And you know what? There's a lot of truth in that. Not only is that 10-mile circle probably, without a doubt, the richest 10-mile circle in all of the U.S., at least as far as per capita per household, probably the biggest in the world. I mean, they had the only real estate market that went up during the last 10 years, during the greatest recession in the history of the USA. And within that 10-mile radius, you can be guaranteed and assured that the enemies of our liberty and the enemies of our Constitution and our capitalist form of government live within that 10-mile radius around the state capitol. There's more enemies to our liberty and freedom within that 10-mile radius around the U.S. Capitol than probably Russia or China. I mean that 10-mile radius around Capitol Hill, I mean that's enemy territory. If you love our liberty and love our country and love the Constitution. Now this story, this kind of wigs me out. And let's hope this isn't for real. I got this from the N5D Esoteric, Metaphysical, and Spiritual Database. But I've heard this story before, so I thought I would do it. I report, you decide. It says here that the United Nations ordered depopulation of 3 billion people by food malnutrition has started, according to a PBS special report. While investigating the WHO and the UN role in the biological weapons attack called the A-H1N1 swine flu pandemic of 2009, criminal intelligence agents from Canada and the US have stumbled upon a covert and sinister plan to kill off as many as 3 billion people by food malnutrition. The organization that is responsible for preparing for the murder of 3 million people is called the Codex Alimentarius Commission. It was established in 1963 by the World Health Organization and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Their officially stated purpose is to develop international food standards to protect consumer health and to facilitate fair trading practices in food. Today, there are 181 member governments, including Canada. CI agents have uncovered the real purpose of the WHO UN organization is to murder 3 billion people. How they will murder some 3 million people. And it goes on, I don't know. I mean, if it goes on, I'm not sure what they say after that. I don't see where it says how. Alright, and it sends you over to, well, let's see. Yeah, see, unnamed sources. They don't tell you the how. Oh, I'm sorry. I just thought it was an interesting story. I've seen stuff like this before. It's a pretty impressive posting. I found it on my Facebook page. It's got a really good picture, and I just wondered, though, is this a joke? Well, it was called the Codex Alimentarius Convention. And it says, this is no joke. And I don't know. I guess the reason I did this story is the UN has talked about a lot about eugenics and also about reduction in population. And I'm cynical enough to believe that the UN probably has involved itself in genocide, either directly or by non-involvement. And I think part of that motivation for allowing for genocide of people is that their overlying belief is that we need population reduction. And you should never waste a disaster if it's killing mass amounts of people. And if you could encourage genocide by not doing anything, that'd be all right. The means justify the ends. Solinsky. Unlike Dr. Martin Luther King, who says that your means must justify your ends. Alright, let's see what time we got. We got 5 minutes left till the next break. I gotta try and sell you something today. Just warning you. I got this story from Best of Kane, Herman Cain. Headline, John McCain employs the left's favorite tactic, then demands Ted Cruz apologize to Bob Dole. You're missing the video. Oh, wait, what am I doing here? When you're losing... Uh-oh, looks like I was going to play this video. I was kind of in the mood for a video. Here we go. Let's listen to John McCain. He's talking about Senator Ted Cruz, conservative Republican from Texas. And basically, John McCain is a rhino. Republican in name only. I like to refer to Senator John McCain as the white rhino. And let's give a listen here. This was this weekend. Evidently, Ted Cruz said something about Bob Dole, a friend of John McCain, and Senator Cain is upset at Cruz. So let's give a listen here.
All of us remember President Dole, and President McCain, and President Romney. Those are good men, they're decent men, but when you don't stand and draw a clear distinction, when you don't stand for principle, come across cynical. I think you're saying that you, Bob Dole, and Mitt Romney did not stand for principle. Well, I spoke to Ted Cruz. He and I have a cordial relationship about this, and he can say what he wants to about me, and he can say anything he wants to, I think, about Nick that's capable of taking it. But when he throws Bob Dole in there, I wonder
if he thinks that Bob Dole stood for principle on that hilltop in Italy, when he was so bravely wounded in that part of his body where they're fighting for our country, Bob Dole is such a man of honor and integrity and principle. I hope that Ted Cruz will apologize to Bob Dole, because that has crossed a line that to me leaves the realm of politics and discourse that we should have in America.
Senator, did you call Ted Cruz after he gave his speech yesterday?
I talked to him on the floor. And I said exactly what I am telling you. I said, if you want to, say things that are critical of me and what's wrong with me, that's fine. My beloved Bob Dole, as you know, is not in the best of health, and he doesn't need that in the twilight of his years.
It just occurred to me, as we've been speaking, and we were playing some video of Ted Cruz, and he was speaking like this, and I thought, well, if Bob Dole could have used that arm, his whole life would have been a lot different. So thank you for making that point. Thank you for being with us today. It meant a lot. A great deal for us.
No one should ever have to apologize for having a particular political viewpoint, policy viewpoint. That should never happen. And John McCain knows that. He's using the fact that Bob Dole was injured in combat in World War II as some reason that people ought to pull the gloves when they deal with Bob Dole. You know, that's the old idea that we should respect our elders. Whoever came up with that idea was old, you can bet. Old people don't deserve any more respect than anyone else. Everyone should get a certain moniker of respect, and any respect on and beyond of that has to be earned. And the fact of the matter is the Republican Party is in the middle of a civil war between the conservatives, Tea Party types, limited government types, and senators like White Rino McCain, who want to go along with the corporatization of government, their status. They want more government. They understand that there's going to be a lot of government, and they want to be in control of it. And they're inside that 10 square miles of Washington, D.C., and they want the people within that 10 miles of Washington, D.C. to like them. John McCain wants the lamestream media to like him and respect him. And that, my friends, is a rhino. Republican in name only. One of the most important things that an elected official can do or say is no. No more tax increases. No more government. No more increasing this budget and that budget. No. Most important word in government is no. Most important word, if you want to have sustainability as a country, is to elect politicians that say no to government. All right, you're listening to Daniel Gray. I am your host du jour of the Trailer Park Profit Show. We're broadcasting live from beautiful, sunny, warm, downtown Crestone, Colorado on Blog Talk Radio. This is Sunday on Monday. Before I forget, I want to remind you, if you happen to know somebody, a male, or you're a male, or you're thinking about turning male, and you'd like to meet some beautiful women, I want you to think about the Trailer Park Profit Show, the Trailer Park Profit Love Connection, where 20,000 screened young women across the world are profiled on the internet. There's pictures, there's resumes, there's likes and dislikes, and you can go to one of our offices that are sprinkled all across the world, where we screen these women, make sure they're not con artists or prostitutes, so you're safe. We have regular type parties and things going on all across the world. We can help you get your visa, your passport, get you a flight to whatever country, make sure you're in a safe accommodations, and then we provide a safe environment to meet all these beautiful women all across the world. So if you are a man or know somebody that is a man, tell them about the Trailer Park Prophet Love Connection. One of our many services here from the Trailer Park Prophet. We're thinking about you. And don't think we're not thinking about you ladies out there, because we do stories from time to time. Alright, I want to do this story. This is an interesting story. Let's see, am I going to be okay? Can I jump away from this? Yeah, I think I can. I can remember where I was. I hope. Alright, somebody posted here recently a list of the most recent terrorist attacks around the world. And I actually published this list on my Crestone Baca open forum. And I got what I think was a interesting and predictable response. And I think it goes into the psychology of progressive socialist status. Kind of gives us some insight. Do you guys want to listen to some music? I think I want to listen to some background music. Do you mind? Uh-oh. Okay, here, there's the story. But first, I just need some noise. Hang on a second. YouTube, classical, background music. M-U-S-I-C. I love the internet. You know what? I forgot to tell you, you can call into the program. If you would like to talk to the Trailer Park Prophet, you can do that. You can dial in. I don't have the number right now, but hang on. I want to do some music. Let's see. What is this? Background. God, everything's... Alright, that works. Is that okay? It's not too loud, is it? Oh, I gotta click on it. What is this? Oh, I see. Alright, now I get it. I gotta click on it. Oh, learning, learning, learning. All the time learning. So this should start any moment now, and then we can get back to our story. Alright, we're ready. Get going here. Background music. It's supposed to be a slow classical piano. Songs, beautifully romantic ocean soundtrack. Well, come on. Let's hear it then. Alright, we're going to have an ad, I guess, first, so we can skip that in 10 minutes. It's 2 hours, 58 minutes. 3 hours. So, took a while to... I really like that song. Does that sound too loud? Yeah, I mean, that'd be horrible if it's too loud. Uh-oh. Alright, let's just go with that right there. Alright, I better go to my studio, make sure everything is copacetic. Alright, everything looks like a go. If you want to call into the program, it is 646-716-8506. Again, if you'd like the pleasure of a lifetime and talk to yours truly, Daniel Gray, the Trailer Park Prophet from Crestone, Colorado. Write this down. You might want to write this on your hand. You might want to get this number tattooed on your hand, because if ever you want to call into the Prophet, because let's admit it, I'm on at the same time every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 1 to 3 Mountain Standard Time. You can call the Prophet by dialing 646-716-8506. So back to the story. Back to Crestone, Colorado. So I found this listing by, was posted by Thaddeus DeSmet, capital D-E, capital S-M-E-T. And he has a list of recent bombers. And it looks like there's, you got the shoe bomber was a Muslim, the Beltway snipers were Muslim, Fort Hood shooter bombers were Muslim, the underwear bomber, Muslim, Madrid train bombers, that was a big one, Muslims. Times Square bomber was a Muslim, that was a close one. Remember, he was down on Times Square and the bomb didn't go off, or he was trying to get the bomb to go off, and this guy who was manning one of those little push carts was able to thwart the explosion. Oh, that could have been a really big one. No, now I remember. The Times Square bomber had a car bomb that he was having trouble with. That could have been, hundreds of people could have died. And then you got the Bali nightclub bombers. They were Muslim. I vaguely remember that one. The New York subway bombers were Muslim. That was a huge one. I'm trying to think of the year. Was that 2005? And then you had the Moscow theater attackers. They were Muslims. That was an ugly scene. Eventually, they gassed all the Muslims in the theater. The Pan Am Flight 103 bombers were Muslim. Yep. Remember, that was, I believe, in 97 over Lockerbie, and everyone on that plane died. Air France, Natibi hijackers were Muslim. That was back in the 70s. The Beirut U.S. Embassy bombers were Muslim. All right, I think that was under Reagan, wasn't it? The Libyan U.S. Embassy attack was by Muslim. The Buenos Aires suicide bombers were Muslim. The Kenya U.S. Embassy bombers were Muslim. Remember that one. The Israel Olympic team attackers were Muslim. That would have been in the 70s. The Saudi Khobar Towers bombings were Muslims. The Beirut Marine Barracks bombers were Muslim. Now remember, that was during the Reagan administration in the 80s. And a lot of people think that it was the lack of resolve and response by the Reagan administration that sent the signal to radical Islam that terrorism could be a useful tool in promoting their agenda. And 300 Marines died. I really do think that President Reagan made a mistake by not retaliating in a way that was quick, concise, and brutal. All right, the Beslan Russian school attackers were Muslim. I remember that. The Kili Laro cruise ship attackers were Muslim. Remember, they threw the guy in a wheelchair off the boat. The 1993 World Trade Center bombers were Muslim. A lot of people forget that. That was the blind sheikh. We've talked about the blind sheikh here on the Trailer Park Prophet Show quite a bit, and that was the 1993 World Trade Center bombers were Muslim. And you watch, before President Obama is out of office, he will somehow allow the blind sheikh out of this country, probably in the hands of another Muslim nation that's going to release him. All right, Bombay and Mumbai Indian attackers were Muslim. That was a couple years ago. I remember that was really brutal. They took over a mall in Bombay, and then the other attack was of the Mumbai India motel, where they, took over this whole huge hotel and set it on fire. And of course, last but not least, is the September 11th, 2001 airline hijackers were Muslim. And it says here, flashback to 2007 from Nicholas Khrushchev in his New York Times article entitled Obama, Man of the World. Mr. Obama recalled the opening lines of the Arabic call to prayer, reciting them with a first-rate accent. Mr. Obama described the call to prayer as one of the prettiest sounds on earth at sunset. Got any questions? You got any questions there, infidel? Wise up, wake up, stand up, speak up. Our liberty is in the balance. All right, you're listening to Daniel Gray, my name, of course, or my handle is the Trailer Park Prophet. This is, what is this, the 3rd or the 10th of March, amazing. Let's see, we're broadcasting, of course, live from Crestone, Colorado. Thanks a lot for being here. Sunday on Monday. What else do I want to do? We're on Blog Talk Radio, blah, 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 blah. Oh, so anyway, back to this story. So I posted this on my Crestone Baca open forum. And this guy responds to this list that I just read to you of Muslim attacks. Okay, I did write above the list of Muslim attacks, Muslim terrorist attacks over the last, what would that be, like 40 years? I said that all Muslims are not terrorists. Not all Muslims are terrorists. That's true. But most terrorists are Muslim. And my response from one of my friends, what's his name, Bruce McDonald, he wrote here, now this is interesting, he says, now this gets you into the mindset of a progressive socialist. He says, oh bullshit, Daniel, our government, the government of Israel, the British government are loaded with terrorists. He must be talking about our soldiers and CIA and the ones terrorizing the entire globe, and they ain't Muslims. I'm really sick of all your Muslim terrorist crap. It was the British government, our government, the Israelis, and the Saudis that radicalized Islam to begin with, to set the stage for all the crap they have been doing since 9/11. And one thing I'd like to remind you all is that the Ottoman Empire was a very repressive, impressive empire. And it was basically the implement of Islam through the Ottoman power that, that's how it was like Muslims' manifest destiny was this notion in Islam that they want to rule the world, that the whole world has to be ruled by Islam. It is the will of God. And that's what brought us one of the most repressive regimes in the history of mankind, the Ottoman Empire. Long before there was any discussion about the British government was involved in any colonialism, and long before the USA was the hegemony on the planet. So I mean, but you know, this is an opportunity for us to look into the minds of a liberal, Bruce McDonald. Nice guy. He's a wonderful guy. So he goes on to say, in response to my post of not all Muslims are terrorists, but most terrorists are Muslim, he goes on to say, he says, and let's not forget the largest group of terrorists on the planet. Now, who do you think that is? The bankers. The psychopathic criminal international bankers. They, in all capital letters, are the terrorists who create all the other terrorists they need to do all their dirty work, to foment wars, create endless, mindless fear of the terrorists under every bed and around every corner to justify all the real terrorism. I mean, that's a mouthful. That's a real mouthful, and it gives you a little insight into the progressive socialist statist mind, who normally or would routinely hate bankers. But to this degree, I mean, this is a lot of judgment going on here by Mr. McDonald, and he obviously blames bankers and thinks bankers are terrorists. I mean, they're the worst people on planet Earth. In fact, he even says they're psychopathic, criminal, international bankers. Now, I was thinking about this on my walk today, and I wondered if we were to get Bruce McDonald on the show, and I want to get him on the show here, and ask him overall, do you think banking has helped or hurt modern society? I mean, do you think we could have put a man on the moon if we only had a barter system in place? I don't know. Are we better off with having bankers or without having bankers? I mean, is the idea of saving money, saving resources, is that a good or a bad idea? Okay. Bruce goes on. He says, and let's not forget the largest group of terrorists on the planet. Oh, okay, they're the bankers. Of course, you already know that. It's not very hard to find people you can radicalize and dump on society to create havoc. The planet is loaded with people who are not very educated and a lot of desperate people as well. It's not hard to start conflict of any kind. Only takes one willing lunatic in a crowded room to start a fight and plunge the whole place into a brawl. So, I mean, I'm talking about a long string of intricately thought out terrorist plots involving lots of people and planning and aspiration, pulling off terrorist attacks that kill hundreds and hundreds of people. And Bruce here is equating what I'm talking about to one lunatic in a crowded room trying to start a fight and plunge the whole place into a brawl. The lunatic Bruce is talking about is an individual that goes into a room and starts a fight. Now, the lunatic I'm talking about walks into a room with a bomb strapped to him and blows up the whole room. See, Bruce and I are talking about two different things. But he's doing exactly what progressive socialist statists do. They change the subject. They muddy the water. They don't stay germane to the topic. And my beginning premise is pretty simple. Not all Muslims are terrorists, but most terrorists are Muslim. He doesn't even address the basic premise that I was making. And how many examples did I give recently? 30-some examples. I would have to say 30 terrorist attacks is an example of the favorite tactic of radical Islam. I don't think that's a stretch. I think most people would agree with that. So I write back to Bruce. I said, Bruce, you are a really interesting subject to observe. The truth about Islam completely unhinges you. Interesting. And I truly am interested. When you delve into the mind of a progressive socialist statist, this is what you find. You find Bruce McDonald. This kind of logic. It's kind of pretzel logic. And so Bruce responds to that. He says, no, it doesn't unhinge me. I'm just very tired of your incessant fear-mongering about Muslims and your insistent perpetuation of all the standard talking points about the boogeymen we all have to fear so we can justify never-ending wars and giving U.S. and UK and Israeli governments a free pass on all their outrageous terrorism, picking one fight after another and destabilizing the whole dang globe, pushing us all into another world war. It's not the Muslims doing that. It's primarily those three governments and the international bankers. Of course, Russia and China play their parts as well. So Bruce gives us a thumbnail sketch of postmodern history in one paragraph. But yet, you know, this is exactly the same response that you can expect to get from just about any progressive socialist statist. Just this right here. They're going to tell you this. That the Muslims aren't trying to start any wars. I mean, they're not involved in any international conflicts. No, it's the U.S. And so then I responded. I said to Bruce, I said, "Giddy up, gringo." That is my very own version of "you go, girl." Giddy up, gringo. You go, girl. And then I went on to say, I said, Bruce, just speaking truth to power. Because I really do love and defend the rights of women, children, blacks, and gays. And I sincerely mean that. And Islam does not support equal rights for women, children, blacks, or gays. If you don't believe me, Google it. But Bruce would never answer the actual subject of my post. Nor will he even answer this basic statement I'm making here. That I'm just trying to speak truth to power because I really do love and defend the rights of women, children, and gays. I really do. And then I invited Bruce on to the Trailer Park Prophet Show. I told him he could be on today and we could continue this debate. And he says he's way too busy today. I'm sure he is. He's got a lot going on. And then I said maybe some other day, and I told him when the program is on, and then he said that he'll think about it. And I said, cool. And I really hope Bruce McDonald is on the show. He might be listening today. A lot of people from Crestone do listen to the Trailer Park Prophet, but I would like to have him on. But I thought it was an excellent opportunity to kind of delve into the psychological components of a progressive socialist status in America. All right, if you want to be on the program, you can do so by dialing 646-716-8506. I want to apologize to everybody for the times that you've called into the program and I didn't see it up on the board. I don't have the board in front of me all the time. I should probably get myself dual screen so I can always have a eye shot of my studio screen. So if you called in, I know you've called in, a lot of you have called in. I didn't see that you were on the line and I missed you. You got tired waiting. I apologize. I need to get better at that. The prophet is always improving. Always. Oh, by the way, Friday's going to be a really good show. I'm going to talk about my experience in government, mainly local government, and I think you're going to enjoy what I have to tell you. So Friday, Loco Friday, Loco Friday, where we talk about local government and how all politics is local, is going to be a good show. I'm going to talk about myself a little more than I usually do. I try not to talk about myself, because when you listen to people talk about themselves, like Robert Reich, it gets old. I know a lot of progressive socialist writers, particularly locally here in Gunnison and Crested Butte, they talk about themselves way too much. It's narcissistic. All right, I'm trying to get to the next story. I hope that music's not too loud. I just like it. It kind of calms me down, gives me another rhythm in my organic computer. Let's see here. I'm probably priding myself. I know I'm priding myself. I might be delusional. I might be a little bit paranoid in this regard. But I do have to ask myself, because of my postings, because of my Facebook page, because of my show, The Trailer Park Prophet, I just ask if I'm not on a watch list, somebody's watch list. I've had trolls. Trolls are people that follow people on Facebook and try to disrupt what they do. I've had those. I had to get rid of them. One of them was a friend. Well, actually several were actual face-to-face, three-dimensional friends, their history. But this posting here says, when you are put on a watch list for agreeing with the Constitution, there is tyranny. And we have a story today later on in the stack. I don't know if we have time to get to it. A woman has said that she received notification from the IRS that she's going to be pre-audited. Pre-audited. And she admits that she's a Republican and gave money to Mitt Romney, but she's going to be pre-audited. Pre-audited. She was told this by the IRS. Talk about tyranny. Let's see this story. Oh, here's Robert Reich. Mentioned him earlier. He has a little posting here. He says, when the political branches of government are gridlocked as now, policy making doesn't stop. No, because now the government is in the hands of the bureaucrats. Power moves to the three places at the proprietary of our democracy. 1. The courts gain power because their interpretations of laws, such as the Voting Rights Act, can't be overturned by a gridlock Congress. You know, and this is interesting because, see, this is what I said here is that gridlock is our friend. The framers of our Constitution wanted gridlock in Congress. Did you notice Robert Reich made no mention of Barack Hussein's? Okay, that's later on. But at any rate, again, the Founding Fathers wanted it very hard to change anything. In other words, our Founding Fathers wanted gridlock. And then as far as the courts are going to go on and continue making rules on laws. I mean, why? No matter, if Congress stopped tomorrow making laws, you can bet your bottom dollar that the courts would continue to interpret those laws forever, even if there was no new laws passed by Congress. Number 2, the Federal Reserve gains power because when fiscal policy is deadlocked, the Fed monetary policy is the only game in town for fueling the economy. Now, that is insanity. We've talked about how the Federal Reserve, and you could say, yeah, it's an independent agency, has decided to pump $85 billion into the economy every month. But you can be guaranteed that if the president called up the Federal Reserve chairman or the directors of the Federal Reserve and said, hey, you've got to knock this off, they're going to knock it off. But they're all Keynesian economists who believe that the only way to get an economy going is to print money. They're all Keynesian. Bernanke was a Keynesian. The woman that's the first head of the Federal Reserve, she's a Keynesian. And it's not the place of the federal government, well, I meant the Federal Reserve, to think they're there to save the economy. That's the job of Congress, or better yet, it's the job of Congress and government to stay out of the way of our private economic engine. But at least he admits that the feds are trying to fuel the economy. See, they're fueling the economy. You know, that's like throwing gas on the fire. And it isn't growing the economy. Fueling and growing are two different things. If you're creating jobs, you're fueling the economy. If you're just printing money and turning it over to your Wall Street friends, all of your Wall Street banker friends, that's fueling the economy. Not growing the economy. The growing of the economy happens organically by individuals like you and me deciding to start a business and hire people. Number 3, the NSA and the CIA gain power because their covert policy, the NSA and the CIA gain power because of their covert foreign policy, difficult for Congress to review and correct even under the best circumstances, is effectively unleashed. But why should anyone trust the courts, the Fed, and the NSA and CIA with so much additional power? Now, this is just out and out delusional by Robert Reich, because Congress still has its constitutional oversight authority over the NSA and the CIA. That doesn't stop. And if it's something as egregious as has been suggested of recent about the illegal, warrantless surveillance of American citizens, I would imagine you could get that through a bipartisan legislature or bipartisan Congress. Because I think quite uniformly people in the United States don't like what they're hearing about the NSA. So that number 3 by Robert Reich is all nonsense. And yet he's sowing disinformation, sowing fear, misrepresenting the Constitution, and he goes unchallenged except for here on the Trailer Park Prophet. Which, by the way, I got to tell you, I'm on the job today, and Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck, they're not on the job today, but I am. All right, let's see here. 222. According to this story, illegal non-citizens voted in Florida during the 2012 election. I got this story here from Andrew Breitbart, He says, we are a citizen journalism army, and we are going to take back this country. Andrew Breitbart. All right, but this story was posted yesterday. Illegal alien non-citizens caught voting in Florida. I think we actually have a video to share with you. One momento there, my fellow lovers of liberty. Come on. No, this is unfortunate. Okay, here we go. Oh, I never know what to do on these stop script things. A script on this page may be busy or may... Oh my god, now everything's going... Do I stop? No, continue. I never know. Do I continue the script? Stop the script? Some of us never learn. Alright, let's listen to this video here. This is Sharon Harrington, Lee County Supervisor of Elections in Florida. She's talking about voter fraud, illegal aliens actually voting in the Florida election back in 2012. We'll even stop the music here because we want to give this lady an opportunity to reach us. Alright, Sharon Harrington, welcome to the Trailer Park Profit Show. You can take it away. Sharon, don't be bashful. I know it's kind of daunting coming onto the Trailer Park Profit Show. Even the president sometimes gets a little stage fright when he knows he's going to be on the Trailer Park Profit Show. All right, Sharon, take it away.
Working on this story now for more than 2 months. He's joined us now in the Lee County Election Center. Well, Leslie, we don't know how widespread this problem is because elections officers don't keep track of where non-citizens live. So we decided to do something that they never tried to do before. We found them. All right. Have you voted before? No. I voted here. The applicant is not a U.S. citizen, yet the Pittsburgh resident is registered to vote. Do you know that you're not supposed to vote if you're not a U.S. citizen? NBC 2000 had asked her hearing her jury report. She told the court report she wouldn't serve because she wasn't a U.S. citizen. But she found her name and nearly 100 others like her in the database of Florida registered voters. You have no idea why you're registered to vote. This neighbor's woman didn't want to show her face. While she doesn't know how she was registered, she does know how to vote. We're going to show you voted 20 times in elections dating back 11 years. And then you're going to walk into the election. So the left side of the year. Kendall Lincoln is not a U.S. citizen either. The Jamaican national says he doesn't know how he ended up registered to vote. So this is all business. So he's got registered. But we obtained a copy of his 2007 voter registration application. It's clearly marked U.S. citizen. This under oath, that document will testing that it is in fact true, and by falsifying it, it's declared to be false. County supervisors of elections tell me they have no way to prove. We don't have any way of bouncing that information off of any other database that would give us that. Does that need to change? I think it needs to be looked at. Until that happens, the only way supervisors of elections can investigate voter fraud is if they get it checked. It looks like years ago.
Alright, anyway, you get the gist of this, and I swear, I really do, I have a feeling that a lot of these voter fraud cases are being scrubbed by search engines. If you go and there's Malcolm X. I just stumbled on Malcolm X's last speech. We might just do a little bit of this. I love Malcolm X. But anyway, let me finish my point on voter fraud. I honestly think that voter fraud stories are being scrubbed from the internet. I honestly believe that. I know that sounds cynical. I know that sounds like a conspiracy theory. But I swear, I know stories that I've found in the past that I can no longer find. And if you go and you Google voter fraud, you're not going to find that many stories. Even though there's hundreds of stories of voter fraud initiated by Acorn, at least. And I have a feeling in this country that voter fraud is rampant. And I'm sorry if you think that it's unreasonable or infringement on people's rights to be asked for an ID before they vote, you're crazy. And that's exactly what the Democrats want. The Democrats do not want voter ID laws. And why is that? Well, I submit to you that the Democrats are against voter ID laws because they want to encourage illegal aliens, non-citizens. They want those people to vote because they know they're going to vote for the Democratic Party. That's my premise. I'd like to get somebody on the program that would want to argue against having an ID to vote in this country. It's ridiculous. It truly is. They must think we're a bunch of dummies. And see what else? I'll tell you what else. There's a disinformation campaign going on by the Democrats and the progressive socialist status. They want to erode confidence in our voting process. And the reason being is they know they can deliver. Or their job to win elections is to deliver on the national scene for president 50 to 60 million people. That's all they need to come to the polls. Now, if they can discourage people from going to the polls because they hear these stories about voter fraud, or they hear stories about how the government is trying to keep minorities away, whatever. I mean, any person that the progressive socialists can keep away from the polls because they don't trust the system, that's a win for the progressive socialist statist movement. The more people that self-disenfranchise themselves from the political square, the political scene, political involvement, that's a win for the progressive socialist status. But why the media, for some reason, is covering up stories about voter fraud is, I know it sounds like sort of a disconnect, but I think they don't want people to know just how crooked the elections really are. So I know I'm kind of contradicting myself, and I can't really come to a resolution. But I do think that the overriding motivation of the Democratic Party not to have IDs is to encourage people that are non-citizens to vote. I think that's the underlying foundation of the whole voter fraud kind of movement by the Democratic Party. All right, where are we? Oh. You're listening to Daniel Gray. I'm the Trailer Park Prophet, broadcasting live from beautiful downtown Crestone, Colorado on Blog Talk Radio. We have another half hour left. We got, oh my God, oh, we're doing pretty, actually we're a little behind. I got to get in all my stories. Otherwise, you guys, you get mad, you email me, you say, hey, you forgot this story or that story, or, so I got to get on the ball. Oh, here we go. We'll let Herman Cain explain this story to us. This is from Best of Cain. He has a piece here about a union, another union, I believe, who has come out against Obamacare. This is the second actual union, big union, to come out against Obamacare. We reported on Friday about a union in California. Now we have another national union that represents 300,000 low-wage hospitality workers, charges in a new report that Obamacare will slam wages, cut hours, limit access to health insurance, and worsen the very income equality President Obama says he's campaigning to fix. Oh my God. I thought he had a video here, but here, oh, it goes on. Now listen to this. This is interesting. It says here that because of Obamacare, that it's going to cause companies to cut wages, cut hours. A national union that represents the 300,000 low-wage hospitality workers, again, charges in a new report that Obamacare will slam wages, cut hours, limit access to health insurance, and worsen the very income inequality President Obama says he's campaigning for to fix. Unite Here, that's the name of the union, warned that due to Obamacare's much higher costs for health insurance than what union workers currently pay, the result will be a pay cut of up to $5 an hour. If employers follow the incentives in the law, they will push families onto the exchanges to buy coverage. This will force low-wage service industry employees to spend $2, $3, or even $5 an hour to pay their, or an hour for their pay to buy similar coverage, said the union in a new report. Sorry, I goofed that up. I'm going to read that sentence again because it's important. Obamacare will force low-wage service industry employees to spend $2 to $3 or even $5 an hour of their pay to buy similar coverage, said the union in a new report. Meanwhile, Republican National Committee data operatives will build a list of millions of people who have lost insurance policies due to Obamacare in order to help the candidates win over these voters at the ballot box in 2014 and 2016. So we got a little insight into some of the Republican Party's campaigning strategy. And let's see, are there other numbers? I actually saw this, and the thing is, I've seen these stories, I don't know if I reported on it, where different businesses, primarily restaurants, are just adding to their bill $2, $3 per bill, and it just says to provide Obamacare health insurance, $2, $3 per bill. Now, stuff like that, that's going to create a buzz. And Obama and the progressive socialist statists are worried about that buzz. That's why, remember, the delay by Obama by executive order of the employer mandate. That's what these numbers are talking about. That's what this union is talking about. The employers are looking into the future and they're saying, okay, this is going to cost some money. We're going to have to make some changes. People are going to have to make less. We're going to have to charge more for Obamacare. And that's why that was one of the first things that President Obama delayed was the employer mandate. And the more people learn about Obamacare, the more the Democratic Party has to worry. And we're going to see Obama and the Democrat progressive socialist status poll numbers continue to drop because more and more people are talking about this. Every time someone picks up a restaurant tab and sees, oh my God, I'm paying $3 for Obamacare for these people here. I'm here one time. I could go on, but we have more to do. Oh, we got to go back to the music. Oh. Ah! Now it's gone. The music's gone. Man, that just... Here we go. We'll do something else. I just gotta have my music today. I don't know why, I just do. So now we're going to listen to 1 hour of Beethoven. We only have a half hour left, but this will be good. Going to start out with the classic. Oh, I better check for callers. No callers. Move on to the next story. Oh, darn, and I had a video. And I already got the music going. So we're going to skip that story. Alright, here's our quick history lesson for the day. I got this from Positively Republican something or other. That sounds a little loud, doesn't it? I'm going to turn it down here. Just a smidgen. Alright, keep going, keep going. Just turned you down. Come on. Alright. Quick history lesson. 13th Amendment to our Constitution, abolishing slavery. 100% Republican support, 23% Democratic support for the 13th Amendment abolishing slavery. As I said, this is a little mini history lesson by the numbers. 14th Amendment gave citizenship to freed slaves. 14th Amendment to our Constitution to give citizenship to slaves. 94% Republican support, 0% Democratic support. Democrats did not support giving citizenship to freed slaves. And remember, that would have been in 1865, somewhere around there, or after the Civil War. 18th Amendment, right to vote for all. 18th Amendment, right to vote for all. I guess that also includes women, wouldn't it? I got to look into that. All right, 18th Amendment, right to vote for all, 100% Republican support, zippo, nada, Democrat support. Obamacare, 0% support for Obamacare, absolutely no, nada, Republican support for Obamacare, 86% supported Obamacare. 80% of Democrats supported Obamacare. 86%. And the Republicans need to remind the people out there that it was the Democrats that came up with Obamacare. And not one Republican voted for Obamacare. Because they wouldn't allow any amendments, remember? Obamacare was brought up on special orders. There was limited debate. Not one person on planet Earth had read Obamacare before it was passed by our U.S. Senate and our U.S. House of Representatives. That is a fact, Jack. If you don't believe that, then you are a waste of your liberty. Plus, you're stupid. All right, this story comes from the Tea Party. I can't believe this is right. Something's wrong with this story. Mitch McConnell, he's a Rhino running for re-election from Kentucky. Supposedly, he said at CPAC over the weekend, quote, Mitch McConnell said, "We are going to crush the Tea Party in the 2014 elections." That quote is being attributed to Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. It said, and it says here in the Blaze that not only did he say that we were going to crush the Tea Party, he didn't merely just mention the Tea Party candidates. Oh, okay, I got kind of mixed up there. Never mind. I should go into this story now that I botched it so bad. Excuse me. Generally, I don't do that. I kind of had a... I hadn't read the article, so I was trying to fake it, and that's what happens sometimes. I want to see the quote. Now, this is from the Blaze. No, wait, where's this from? Here's the quote. Here's the quote. Mitch McConnell, running for re-election to the U.S. Senate from Kentucky. He says, "I think we are going to crush them everywhere," McConnell told the New York Times. Quote, "I don't think they are going to have a single nominee anywhere in the country." Wow. This is a big deal. This is a really big deal. And see, there you go. Mitch McConnell is a rhino. And the Tea Party is your basic off-the-rack Reagan Republican. And let's see if there's anything else here. Well, so like I said, Mitch McConnell's involved in a primary, and a survey released last month by the GOP firm Winsell Strategies found McConnell with a 42-point lead over Bevin, while a Bluegrass poll pinned McConnell's lead at 26 points. The Huffington Post noted the Kentucky primary will be held May 20th, which means we have a lot of time. So obviously Mitch McConnell has thrown down the gauntlet with the Tea Party. Now this story was on the Blaze, and it is also on the teaparty.org website. Now I know this is kind of deep in baseball, deep in politics, but that's really a big. Oh wait, this is the story here. How are we doing on time? Okay, here's the actual story. Remember I was talking about this union? This is the better story. I actually did the wrong story. That's probably why. This comes from the Washington Examiner, and they're talking about this same union that I mentioned earlier. And let's see, it goes into a little more detail. Let's see if I can find... There was a poll quote. Oh, here it is. It says here, "Only in Washington could asking the bottom of the middle class to finance health care for the poorest families be seen as reducing inequality," said the report from Unite Here. "Without smart fixes, the ACA, Obamacare, threatens the middle class with higher premiums, loss of hours, and a shift to part-time work and less comprehensive coverage," said the report titled "The Irony of Obamacare, Making Inequality Worse." Okay, now here's what's interesting. We're going to hear this, the narrative now is income inequality. Robert Reich is doing it all the time. Now here they've turned inequality, using the word inequality in their own slogan. And we've already done that here at the Trailer Park Prophet. I mean, we've talked about income inequality. Now I turned it around and used it like this author is here, but I'm telling you, this is going to be a trend through the whole election cycle of crafting a sort of sarcastic response to the narrative of income inequality and using inequality in your own little catchphrase. I mean, this is going to be a real fun election cycle. All right, let's see if there's anything else in here. Oh, here's one last quote. We'll leave with this. Again, this is from the Washington Examiner. It says, "The information addresses the very unfortunate irony of Obamacare." Taylor said in his letter about the report, namely, that it will inevitably lead to the destruction of the health care plans we were promised we could keep. And as a result, it will lead to greater income inequality for the very segment of the population Obamacare should want to help most. Taylor also suggested that Democrats in Washington are telling unions to stop griping about the impact of Obamacare on its members. He quoted the Senate aide saying, "Labor needs to regress to the mean," said Taylor. In other words, roll back what you have and take one for the team. Ironic given that Congress and the President carved out an exemption for staffers at the Obamacare administration. I mean, the people that are going to administer Obamacare are exempt from Obamacare. I mean, that's got to tell you something. We cannot sit idly by as the politicians crave or carve up our health care plans while they carve out exemptions for themselves and the very special interests feeding at the trough in Washington. That 15 square miles around our capital. So the wheels are coming off Obamacare. I gotta laugh. You know, if I don't laugh, I'm gonna cry. Alright, you're listening, of course, to the Trailer Park Prophet. I'm Daniel Gray, broadcasting live from Crestone, Colorado on Blog Talk Radio. We gotta move. Move, move, move. This story comes from Liberty Unyielding. This is about a new Obamacare or Obama appointee. All right, come on here. To the, what post is it? Surgeon General. After being burned by his nomination on Diablo Ajabile to head up the Civil Rights Division at the Department of Justice, President Obama has jumped right into the fray with another radical nominee, this time for Surgeon General, the nation's doctor. But what... Uh-oh. I'm going dark. Uh-oh, guys. Hang on. Going dark. Going dark. I gotta get some ice under my computer. I can't see what's going on. My screen is black. I think it's overheated or something. So I'm gonna put some ice underneath it. I got my fan on. Oh man. Cool down, computer. So I can't see my screen. God darn it. Anyways, this story was about this guy who was the new nominee for the... Oh, there it goes completely. Am I out of here?